Hi, it's Michelle Birdsong, mild red songbird, also known as Eve, Mother of the Earth. Just like the Chambers brothers said, George, Willie, Lester, Joe, and Brian, time has come today. Okay, now I was the best geek. That says best geek on that door, but the picture's too low, you can't see it. I was Dr. Albert Einstein. So I have figured out, with the help, there he is, of my sons, Cain, from the garden. Remember Cain? He developed himself and became the Buddha. Okay, this is my son, Charan Singh. He said his body's not fit for seva. Seva is doing volunteer work when he was Jesus Christ at the Dera in the Punjab. So he left his body, they call it died, and he's going to take a new body. I have a picture of the symbol. Here it is. This is a better one. See, there he is with mother. That's how he's going to be. And his mother, he said no child should have to live without their mother. Its mother. And his mother, I was his mother in a past life. And I'm going to be his mother this time because he's in my womb. Along with a twin, Evelyn Jones, who was an RN. Okay, and he has they have an immaculate birth, conception, because the sun in the sky it made the babies in my womb. Okay, so he doesn't have to live without his mother because he's taking birth to be with her. Okay, so I'll move these pictures so I don't feel so overwhelmed with what I'm going to tell you. Alright, so let me start at what I uncovered. I'm an investigator. My email is michellebirdsonginvestigator@gmail.com. So I have uncovered, and I've been investigating for a couple of years with Cain's guidance, because all these people have tried to teach Eve, I'll refer to myself as Eve instead of I and me and my, to teach Eve to be tough. Because what happened was Adam, I know I had a picture of Adam, well, there they are. Here they are. There they are. One of the little cousins, there they are there. Okay, there. This Adam and Eve. I'm black, and he's been black so many times, he may as well be black this time. It's infinity. Okay, so what is going on in the world? Everybody, what's going on? What's happening? Nobody knows, right? Somebody knows. The saints in India knew, and they guided me to know because I was the problem. My soft heart. Adam willed Eve consciousness into being. But he didn't know what he was doing. My mother, who was the saint, Baba Jamal Singh, when he was my mother, said, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. Adam knew how to will things. He knew as a God could will and have things come to fruition, manifestation, actuality, reality. And so he did. He willed himself a companion. I think it was hermaphrodite, and he willed his feminine side to life. That's how that happened. But he didn't know he had a little bit of knowledge. He didn't know what he was bringing to life. He didn't know her nature. No one knew. She had no mother. She had no role model. There was no pattern. There was no history. So she was a guinea pig for the feminine, and which I just found out a couple hours ago. So what happened was a snake in the garden was a snake. A thing that crawls in the dirt. And he was jealous of Adam and Cain because they could love her. They could kiss her. They could hug her. They could put their stick in her hole. they could experience her fully. And all he could do was look at her. So he was jealous. The snake was jealous. He wanted to experience Eve, but he was impatient. That was the problem. Had he, because I was Charles Darwin, who had to do with evolution, and had the snake been patient and allowed himself to evolve into a human being, which sure would have taken 1,000,000 years, but we're dealing with eternity. So what is 1,000,000 years if you're dealing with eternity? But he didn't have the patience to do that. It's like the illegals. They want to come to America, a very sophisticated, advanced society, for which they do not understand. They don't understand the concept of a constitutional republic that America is, because it requires an educated religious population to understand our sophisticated system of government. You see, so it's the same kind of thing. So they want to get in, they should be sent back until they're qualified to be here, like the other legal immigrants did. Because in getting themselves qualified, they strengthen their character. You know, they develop into people capable of sustaining themselves in this kind of competitive environment. This is not an environment for sissies and for ignorant people. You can't function here. You can't succeed here. So it was the same thing in the Garden of Eden. So Eve befriended the snake, even though she knew he was beneath her. She could look down on him and see. But she couldn't help it. She felt sorry for him. No feet, no legs, no arms and hands, no brains. She felt so sorry for him, you know. That was the problem. And so so what life is. Okay, so she felt sorry for him. And somehow disaster occurred as a result of that. I guess Adam got jealous. I'm not clear about that. I know Adam got jealous because Cain and Eve were loving each other, you know, and Adam went crazy about that and went violent, beat her up, raped her, broke Cain's arms. I know that happened. I'm not sure what the problem with the snake, but I do know the snake has followed Eve. And he's getting revenge. Oh, that's what it is. No, that's not what it is. Okay, what it is, that's the name of an album that Edwin Birdsong and I wrote that would have taken the world into a new direction, especially the black people, because it was thinking through some of the problems of the black race. It wasn't just emotional, I hate you, white is terrible, you know, he took the land from the red man, all that bullshit. It wasn't that. It was actually thinking through the Uncle Tom concept, welfare, being on welfare concept. I had a friend who was on welfare, I understood it, and I explained it on the What It Is album, and things like that. So Satan, Hitler, what do you want to call him, the snake, smushed the album. He smothered my face, because my face would have become known had the album been given a chance. He actually, supernatural stuff goes on at this stage, and I saw this in remote viewing. Remote viewing is something the military does. They train people to go into other people's lives and minds. They can do that now. They don't tell you, but they can do it. I know it because I did it. And I went and I saw him, the snake. You have a picture of the snake. And Berry Gordy moving What It Is album to replace the Snake's album. You see, he looks like that so he can get Eve's sympathy, because he knew that Eve was equal to Adam, and Adam was made into the image of God. So the snake got Eve to set him up with her husband, Johanna Vagoda, who was her husband's lawyer. Vigoda had been Eve's husband in a previous life. So he trusted her, and she trusted him. Whoa. And so when Vigoda asked Eve, who's now Michelle Birdsong, if she thought Stevie Wonder could go from soul singer to superstar, and she was so praising him so much, and she sold his ability to be a big star to Vigoda. So Vigoda, he was a master, he was a genius, a negotiator, like President Trump, who was the 10th Sikh guru, Gobind Singh Ji, So, of course, that's what happened. Vigoda spent the next 40 years negotiating deals and making this guy, Stevie Wonder, into a star. And the reason why it's such a clever disguise is because he knew that Eve was manipulable by her sympathies. And even though when I was 15 years old and Steve came out with fingertips, smelling the shit in his ass, that's what impressed him enough to name a song Fingertips. Plus, when the music teacher hit my fingertips because I played a wrong note, so he was in my head and he knew that. He's been in my head since the Garden of Eden, and so has Adam. Adam writes songs to me. They're so obvious, Where's the picture of Adam? Oh, I was using this. I had another picture of him in the physical with, okay, I don't know where it is. Oh, there it is. Here it is. There's a picture of him. Well, it's his back. He was singing. He went to the subway. I'm telling you, he gets in my head. Because I used to go to this very stop with my children, Robin Birdsong, and Sing Birdsong. We sing. I had lots of pictures of Sing. Oh, there he is. Because Sing was Jimi Hendrix. I don't have a picture of Sing. I have a picture of Sing when he was Jimi Hendrix. But Sing and I and Robin, and my husband, used to go to this. Look at him. Look at the camera. Is that you, Ma? And to this station at Avery Fisher Hall to the symphony. There he is down at the subway singing. And then he says when he hugs all the guys, like I said, he's black. He was black as Sam Cooke. He was black as Brother Wright, my uncle who raised me. He was black as Jesse Belvin. Oh, I loved it. Oh, they got me. Adam, got me through childhood with the songs he was singing to me. I didn't know he was Adam and he was singing to me, but I sure was able to feel the songs and carry on. Okay, so let's see, where am I now? So what happened? He was Ray Charles too. That's right, he was blind. And in his song, After All, he says, do I gotta lose my mind? Because I lost my mind. So and the reason I was blind, let me tell you how that happened. Because I loved Stevie Wonder. Like I said, he took my dream when I was 15, and he had a hit. Oh. And so I knew that he was going to make his mother rich and happy. That was my dream, to get money to make my mother rich and happy. And I was going to sing songs and play the piano. But like I said, the piano teacher turned me off because she hit me. And Sharon Singh said, never hit a child. So, and the singing thing happened because my mother had me sing to her one day. I was in the kitchen. I was about 5 or 6. And she said, come sing to me, because I was singing in the kitchen. So I sang to her, and then she said, when I finished, she said, you could go back. So I always took that all these years to mean, oh, she means I can't sing. Not necessarily. My mother was not a talkative person. She just meant, okay, I asked you to sing for me. You sang for me. You were okay. Now go back and wash the dishes, Cinderella, because I was Cinderella in that family. Okay, now, let's see, where am I? I was talking about, oh, so he took my dream, but I thought God gave him my dream because in the church, the blind preacher said he sent me to hell for one thing. I was 5 years old sitting on the bench, and he bellowed about, you burn in hell for eternity, and my little mind went straight to hell, burning for eternity. I didn't know that I would stay in hell until I consciously got out of hell. But so he put me in hell, that blind man. And I had no barrier. When he said you go to hell and burn for eternity, my mind didn't think, well, this is a preacher, and he's preaching from the Bible, and he's not talking to a little girl. You know, I didn't know how to think logically. I didn't think anything. Anything people said went into my head and became a reality, a fact. And you lived what you believed. Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy and all those people, Zig Ziglar, who's here. I saw him, he's David. He's here, reborn. They tell you, you know, your life is what you believe. Okay. So, I didn't hold it against Stevie Wonder that he went in my head and took my dreams because I didn't know people could do that. Yeah, a lot of people don't know people can do that. They can do that. You know, I've actually heard a girl talking my head as she was pushing her walker. I said, get out of my head. I've read a book, Free Will, that was published by Berkeley Press. It said, yeah, people can get into your head. They get into your thoughts. Somebody should tell a psychiatrist. I mean, I was Sigmund Freud, and I didn't know that. I knew about the unconscious, and my cousin Bernays created a public relations business where they get into all those ads selling Pepsi-Cola and Coca-Cola and stuff. They get into your subconscious. Next thing you know, you're buying their products. You saw them advertised on TV because he learned from his cousin Freud. Freud didn't mean any harm in learning about the unconscious. He didn't know his cousin was going to, you know, sell people stuff they don't need, want, or isn't even good for them. Okay, but I'm getting off the subject. I want to tell you what happened. Okay, so, whoa, this is a long story. Look at all these papers. Look how, so the point is, they were trying, the saints were trying to get Eve to see evil. You know how they say Satan gets away with things because people don't think he exists? Who thinks that's Satan? Nobody. They think that's a nice guy who had an unfortunate experience and can't see, and we should all feel sorry for him and buy all his records and be very nice to him. They have no idea that it's the evil genius Hitler. It disguised as black, everybody feels sorry for black. Disguised as blind, everybody feels sorry for blind. You know, so he thinks he has a double blind persona. But she knew, this is Eva Braun, the woman who married him, who I just discovered was my daughter. I mean, I knew she was my daughter, but I didn't know that, remember I said children are born to help their parents? She married Hitler because her mother married a Nazi, Albert Speer. And she was showing her mother, this is what you are doing. That's what children do. They show us what we are unconsciously doing. Okay? So she said, this is what you are doing. You are marrying a Nazi. Okay? And she killed herself. And of course, Eve killed herself all the time. She was always losing the urge, the desire to live because Satan was thwarting her every effort to be happy. And be happy, the most important thing in the world to her, she was amour, was love. So the last straw came when Eve, this by the way, Eva Braun killed herself. So she showed her mother, this is what happens when you marry a Nazi. Okay, she married Hitler. So she sacrificed her life for her mother, and that's what children will do. They'll do what they are born as dirt under the parents' feet. Now, children seeing Jesus Christ taught me this, so I never would have figured this out. He just came out straight out and told me this when I was in India at the Delhi. He told all of his disciples. So they'll do anything. They'll go as low as dirt to show you what. And she was St. Patrick. She was a saint, so she sacrificed her life to show her mother who Hitler, what it is to marry a Nazi, a Hitler. See, and she was saving the world. And she was also Christopher Columbus. See, Christopher Columbus saved us too by finding us a place to have religious freedom. Because in Britain, it just wasn't being allowed. They were taxing us and mistreating us. And so she saved the world twice. And she's living like shit, with 4 saints. It's not right, Whoa. Okay. So anyway, that's emotional. I'm being emotional. Okay, so that's the point. They wanted Eve. They didn't know that love was like Eve's love because they didn't understand the feminine. So Eve was a guinea pig to show them what it's like to be a feminine, a woman, WOMBIN, woman, okay? To be a mother. They didn't know what that was like because I already explained that. Okay, so Eve didn't know either. She had no role model. She was just going by her heart and being taken right in love. So she marries in 1970, 69, 70. She marries this guy, Edwin Birdsong. She works like a dog with him because she made she actually made a conscious decision to marry him. First of all, he was black, kind of dark, so she married him because she didn't want no yellow kids like her, because she didn't want the black people to be jealous of her kid like they were jealous of her and make her life hell. She was already in hell. The black preacher put her in hell, but the kids in the neighborhood who wouldn't let her play ball with them also put her in hell. So she had nobody, because her mother was at work, so there was no mothering, and her sister was involved with her boyfriend, so she was lonely. So she went to play with the kids. They were, think you're better than us. She said, what are they talking about? I don't know what they're talking about. So she cut her hair off, and she said to her mother, how do I look? She went to the barber shop. Her mother said, you look like Wanda Fay. Wanda Fay was a little girl who wouldn't let her play. And so then she started acting coarse like black people, the majority. And should I say majority? Well, some black people. Like one of her, she started acting ignorant and didn't study and, like that. So she could be one of them. She loved them. So she became like them. So when it's time to get married, she passed up the yellow guys that she was attracted to and married a dark-skinned guy. So her daughter would look like Robin. And isn't she beautiful? I don't regret that. Look how beautiful. Come to find out, Robin was white in a past life. She was Queen Victoria. Isn't that ironic? Yes, she was. Look how white she was. She was white, Queen Victoria. She was the Empress of India, too. We all knew she was very refined and, not like me, what I turned myself into. But I was proud of her, and that was her husband when she was Queen Victoria, and his name was Albert. I have his picture somewhere. Not here. This is Albert with her, yeah. Albert, Prince Consort. That was her husband. He wasn't a king, so she made up a title called the Albert Prince Consort. And he was a heart. And when he died, she didn't even function as a queen. She was in mourning. And she wore black for the rest of her life. Everybody else wore black. Black is considered cool these days, clothes to wear. The Indians still wear colorful clothes. I love colorful clothes. Okay, so this is Earl. He's an aristocrat. His name is Earl George Percy, and they've met. This is His Royal Highness Crown Prince Guillaume of Luxembourg. That's Robin, and that's me. Robin always attracts royalty. Meghan wore the gown that Robin had planned to wear at her wedding. She denies it now, but we had a conversation about this already, and she was very puzzled as to why Meghan keeps doing what she does. And I told her they're sisters, you know. So I see a picture on YouTube where Meghan is getting criticized for wearing a dress that comes off the shoulder. And I'm reminded of when Robin was criticized for wearing a dress that came off her shoulder. She was graduating from Prep for Prep, which is an exclusive, tutoring business for black, not only black, but minorities who are brilliant, who could be put into private schools. And she, you know, it's very difficult. They take an IQ test, all kind of tests, and she passed all the tests, and she got into Prep for Prep, and she graduated. And graduation day, Birdsong, her father, Edwin Birdsong, was there, and she had a pretty dress we had scrimped and saved and got her for her graduation, but it came off the shoulder. And he kept going over to her as she sat with the other Prep for Prep students, and it's pull up your dress, or put the shoulder strap back on your dress. And she's saying, "Leave me alone." So that's what keeps happening. Meghan keeps, doing Robin's life. Robin wanted to be an actress as a child. Meghan's an actress. Robin wanted to marry royalty. And no wonder, she's royal. She fits with them. It makes total sense. Meghan married royalty. I was supposed to marry a princess because I was Cinderella. Meghan married a princess. You see how that works? If you are unconscious and don't make your life what you want it to be, somebody else will. That's the lesson I've learned. This is a book Robin and I wrote. Sneezy, the greasy, babysits Abigail. That's Abigail, my granddaughter, Jandara Ranziger. And she was my mother, Corinne Beatrice Crowder. Okay, so what else do I need to tell you? Okay, so then I married Edwin Birdsong. We did this album. It was monstrously genius. I had been Beethoven, Shakespeare, Pran Kumar Sharma, the Walt Disney of India. I had been, did I say Robert Frost? And so I was Beethoven, I was well qualified to do this. Of course, I didn't know I had been all those people, but I knew the album was exceptional. And Birdsong had been Bach and Irving Berlin, so the music was also exceptional. So when Steve hears it, we didn't know it's Satan and the snake. He calls us up and invites us to his apartment in Queens with Yvonne Wright, who was his wife's sister. He lived with her. And he also made her have an abortion, which she never got over. She always was sad that she gave in and had an abortion. But women give in to men. That's what they were created to make men happy. That's why Adam asked for a woman, and only Eve can make him happy because she's his half of him, and she knows what it takes to make him happy. Nobody else does, So no matter what happens, he's not going to be happy, unless he has Eve, which so that's true. So then what happened was, I figured, oh, we're on our way. The reason why I worked so hard to help Edwin have a good album was because I didn't want my children to go through poverty, the worst condition on earth, like I had to go through poverty. So I figured with Stevie Wonder realizing, and he expressed, that it was a great album, confirming that we had a great album, I figured, well, we're on our way. Aha, this is what happens. The Rolling Stones took Steve, thanks to Vagoda, on tour, and then Steve had the Rolling Stones audience. You see, so he became a superstar. So you figure Steve's going to take Edwin on tour, and then Edwin will be able to share Steve's audience. Steve, like I said, he moved that album from him and Berry Gordy, which it was Himmler, I believe. Berry Gordy was Himmler. He was a Nazi too. And so he moved it from number 1. I saw remotely viewing him. Took it off. It wasn't even on the Billboard charts. And he put his own stupid, silly songs album on there. And he smushed the album, never said a word about it. And took Edwin, keep your enemies close. He kept Edwin close to him. He took him into his family. In fact, Edwin never came home much. In fact, and the brothers, his brothers, Milton and Calvin, embraced Edwin because he was an interesting guy, and so he was Sing's amusement. The court jester. I thought he wanted to be not Sing's, Steve's amusement. The court jester. He infuriates Sing, his son, because he's always feeding off of him and saying, "Leave me alone." One night he said to Sing, "I want you to take this microphone up to Steve. He needs a special microphone." Sing got so mad, he flung his cell phone across the room. I said, I'll take it. And so the mother, that's what the mother does. I didn't think anything of it at the time. It was just my nature to do it, to make everything okay, do what I have to do to make everybody happy. So I did. I took a cab up to the hotel Steve was in. They wouldn't let me in. I said, I have this microphone for him. I'm not some groupie. He's waiting with a microphone. So after much hassle, and I called the house, and Robin called Steve, or Edwin, somebody called Steve and said, she's downstairs with a microphone. Let the people, make the people let her in. So, what they did? They took the microphone up to Steve and never let me in to see him. He didn't say thank you, kiss my ass, nothing. So again, I was used to that kind of treatment. I didn't think anything of it. I'm just thinking back on the slights that I've experienced, trying to be nice to the Satan snake, which the gods have been trying, not desperately, but trying with all their might to get me to realize that I'm befriending Satan. And when I befriend Satan, I become Satan.